Yuki Wakura is that idiot whose life went from zero to monster chow real quick. Being the prime opposite of an alpha male, he must obey a girl to become a demon. Everything changed when he's almost eaten by a monster. Lucky for him, he's saved by Kyuka Uzen, a smoking hot warrior from the all-female anti-demon corps, but things spice up when she slaps a collar on him and makes him her personal servant. Now Yuki's stuck battling monsters, following orders, and surviving a partnership that's equal parts chaos and way too steamy. The anime kicks off with Yuki Wakura, a pathetic excuse for a human being, whining about his miserable life while cleaning the classroom. His so-called friends, who look like they were designed to be forgotten immediately, mock him because they've decided Yuki is their personal janitor. To be fair, Yuki seems to have some next-level cleaning skills like a human vacuum. Just as he finishes scrubbing every corner of the room, the girls arrive at school late as usual. The boys can't complain because, unlike them, the girls have superpowers. Yuki, ever the self-loathing goat, reflects on how useless his existence is. Even so, Yuki tries to stay helpful. When one of his buddies needs a button fixed, Yuki whips out his sewing kit and mends it in record time. His friends, however, aren't impressed. They remind him that sewing skills won't get him a girlfriend, which hits him harder than a truck kun. Just when Yuki starts questioning his purpose in life, between sewing buttons and dreaming of a dead-end job, things take a turn for the worse. A strange fog rolls in, and before he can figure out what's happening, Yuki finds himself in Mato, a terrifying alternate dimension filled with monsters known as Shuki. He freaks out and tries to follow the basic rule of Mato mishaps: sit still and wait for rescue. But Yuki being Yuki, manages to attract a Shuki. Panicking, he tries to fight it with a rock. Spoiler alert, it does nothing but annoy the monster. When all hope seems lost, a girl named Kyoka Yuzen swoops in on a Shuki mount to save his sorry life. She's the commander of the 7th Squadron of the Demon Defense Force, and immediately proves why she's the boss. With her sword, she slices through monsters like she's in a low-budget Bleach knockoff. Meanwhile, Yuki, useless as ever, cowers in the background. Kyoka drags him along as her Shuki pet gets shredded, leaving her to fend off the monsters on foot. Luckily, her backup squad, Himari, Nei, and Shushu, arrives just in time to show off their insane peach-powered abilities. Himari transforms her arm into a Gatling gun, Shushu goes full giant mode like she's auditioning for Attack on Titan, and Nei scouts the area like a pro. Yuki watches in awe, finally realizing these girls are leagues above his useless self. The team clears out the Shuki, but Kyoka isn't done with Yuki yet. She decides to use her questionable powers on him. With no better options and a death wish in his heart, Yuki agrees to her insane plan. She tells him to lick her finger, a scene so cringe-worthy it'll haunt you for days. Miraculously, it works. Chains of energy surround Yuki, and he transforms into a demon-powered beast that looks like a Pokemon, and Bleach fusion gone wrong. Kyoka wastes no time exploiting her new servant, commanding Yuki to annihilate the remaining monsters. To everyone's shock, Yuki goes berserk, ripping through Shuki like they're made of paper. He's flying, slicing, and showing off like he's been waiting his whole life for this moment. The squad takes out a massive demon, and Kyoka is thrilled with her new toy. However, there's a catch to her ability. Every time Yuki fights, Kyoka has to reward him in proportion to his effort. That's right, she has to kiss him. Yuki, being the ultimate dweeb, can barely handle it. His brain short-circuits after the first kiss, and he ends up accidentally punching her in the face in pure awkwardness. Despite the chaos, Kyoka sees potential in Yuki. She reveals her grand ambition to become Supreme Commander and eradicate all Shuki. She convinces Yuki to join her, but not as a warrior, because men can't officially join the defense force. Instead, he's stuck as the squad's caretaker, basically a glorified janitor. Yuki's dreams of heroism are crushed as the girls immediately order him to do their chores. While most of them treat him like dirt, Nei shows a bit of kindness, but it's clear that Yuki is at the bottom of the totem pole. As Yuki scrubs floors and does laundry, he realizes his new life might not be so bad. Sure, he's a servant, but at least he gets to fight monsters and receive rewards from Kyoka. His pathetic existence in the real world pales in comparison to his new role in Mato. Yuki vows to make the most of his bizarre situation. The episode ends with Kyoka welcoming him to the squad. Yuki is proudly finishing his cleaning duties. The clown even dares to critique the scenery as if he has any taste. Suddenly, a Shuki, those knockoff hollows from Bleach, tries to ambush him, but but the barrier stops the wannabe ninja. Nei shows up, checking if Yuki survived his own stupidity. She explains that the 7th Squadron has been stuck in the unlucky southwest area of Mat, where shuki pop up more than mosquitoes on a summer night. Mat is an alternate dimension as massive as Tokyo, divided into 8 zones. He then notices a shuki awkwardly hanging out nearby and wonders if they should do something about it. Nei shrugs it off like a pro, saying it's just a small fry. Himari, however, disagrees. She goes full Mega Man, blasting the poor thing with her Gatling gun. Yuki throws a tantrum because she almost hit him, but Himari dismisses him, saying he'd already be Swiss cheese if she wanted to hit him. She orders him to start working on dinner, reminding him he's only there because Kyoka allowed it. Yuki grumbles about his life as a glorified maid, his dreams of heroism crushed under the weight of dirty laundry and cooking pots. Later, when dinner's served, the squad praises his cooking. Even Himari, who's got the attitude of a tsundere, asks for seconds. Yuki basks in their compliments, but is quickly reminded of all his other chores. As he sulks about being a handyman instead of a hero, Kyoka calmly explains he'll join battles when needed, but until then, he's stuck being the team's Cinderella. Himari casually threatens to decapitate him when he whines, and Kyoka adds her 2 cents, warning she'll rip off his manhood if he misbehaves. What a supportive bunch. Later that night, Shushu, who's now the size of a Funko Pop, accuses Yuki of spying on the girls. Yuki tries to explain he was just cleaning, but she doesn't care. She takes an incriminating picture for fun, claiming she likes keeping things interesting. This little gremlin forces him to clean her room, do her laundry, and still finds time to snap misleading photos. Yuki's pitiful attempts to delete the pictures fail spectacularly, leaving him more depressed than ever. As Yuki mopes around like a baby, he stumbles upon Kyoka and Himari training. A shuki appears, and Kyoka obliterates it like it owed her money. Himari is impressed, but Yuki is horrified, realizing he must never get on Kyoka's bad side. Nei announces she's leaving for a meeting, leaving Yuki alone with Shushu, the queen of torment. That night, Shushu forces Yuki to give her a massage, revealing she grew up without a father and came to Mat for excitement. To pass the time, they play video games. Yuki, the genius he is, bets he'll win. Predictably, he loses every match and even his shirt. Just as things couldn't get worse, a massive shuki appears to attack the barrier. Yuki, in true cowardly fashion, wants to stay back, but Shushu grows into her jumbo size and goes to fight. The battle turns intense as Shushu pummels the shuki. She smashes it into the ground and crushes it beneath her feet, flexing her massive strength. However, her power starts draining fast, and just when she celebrates her victory, another, bigger shuki shows up. This one's a fusion of several monsters, and it's ready to throw hands. Shushu tries to grow even bigger but fails, leaving her vulnerable. The monster grabs her, landing a brutal punch. Yuki, being the bootlicker he is, literally this time, comes up with a ridiculous plan to transform. He remembers that touching Kyoka's belongings triggered his power, so he runs to the laundry room, licking her gloves and stuffing his face in her shirt. Nothing works until he finds her boots. As the monster continues its rampage, Yuki, in a moment of utter desperation, licks the boot and finally triggers his transformation. Power surges through his body, and he rushes to the battlefield. Shushu, now struggling against the monster, gets some much-needed backup as Yuki unleashes a devastating kick, obliterating the shuki's head. Shushu scolds him for being reckless, but Yuki claims he couldn't back down after being called a wimp. Back at the dorm, Kyoka patches Yuki up, and the squad mocks him for being useless after just a few minutes of fighting. Kyoka lectures Shushu about underestimating opponents and punishes her by assigning her Yuki's chores. Kyoka drags Yuki through an interdimensional gateway with all the grace of someone lugging a sack of potatoes. As they arrive, Yuki marvels at how insane this traveling business is, especially since it felt like just a 50-minute car ride back home. Kyoka leaves him alone, telling him to enjoy the fresh air, something Yuki doesn't get often, probably because nobody willingly hangs out with a guy this clueless. Meanwhile, back in Mano, Nei learns Kyoka took Yuki through the Amagata passage. Shocked at first, Nei remembers that today is a tragic day. Kyoka takes Yuki to a cemetery and starts sharing some dark history. Years ago, a bunch of shuki, the nastiest demons around, invaded her world. Among them was a terrifying creature with a single horn she nicknamed Unihorn. Unihorn went on a rampage, destroying her hometown and leaving a trail of destruction. While the Demon Defense Force managed to wipe out most of the shuki, Unihorn slipped through the cracks, retreating to another world. Kyoka is still furious and vows to take Unicorn down, dragging Yuki into her vendetta. She tells him to be ready for when the day comes, but honestly, Yuki looks more ready to fall over than fight. Yuki, being his typical airheaded self, decides it's parfait time. He convinces Kyoka to stop at a nearby cafe famous for its desserts, waving pictures of the parfaits like a bribe. Kyoka, initially annoyed, caves in after seeing how amazing the parfait looks. Yuki reminisces about his late sister, who always encouraged him to try new things, including cooking and cleaning. Meanwhile, Kyoka is busy devouring her parfait like it's the last meal she'll ever eat. Their little dessert break is cut short by an emergency call from Mano. Kyoka forces Yuki to transform into his demon form, which, hilariously, doubles as a glorified transportation system. Back in Mano, Kyoka learns that a massive Shuki nest has appeared, with hundreds of demons congregating in a crater. Even though she's stunned, Yuki is hyped, ready to charge in like the world's dumbest superhero. The team prepares for battle, with Kyoka reminding Yuki to wait for her signal before doing anything stupid, which is basically his specialty. At the crater, the team's strategy is to let the Shuki merge into one giant monster, making it easier to take them down. Things are going smoothly until a beam of destruction suddenly blasts one of their trucks. The source? None other than the infamous Unicorn, now accompanied by a creepy, talking girl. Kyoka immediately recognizes Unicorn and goes berserk, ready to settle the score. The girl easily fends off their attacks and reveals that she's searching for her brother. She explains how her once sweet sibling turned into a rascal as he grew older, and she delights in beating him into shape. Yuki starts wondering if she's a Shuki or something else entirely, but before he can think too hard, the merged Shuki interrupts her monologue. Furious at being interrupted, the girl obliterates the giant demon in seconds, feeding its remains to Unicorn like a snack. Kyoka finally realizes this girl might be the supreme commander of the Shuki. Yuki, meanwhile, is too busy panicking as the girl gets uncomfortably close to him. She's shocked to discover that he's not a Shuki, but an actual human. Kyoka jumps back into the fight, managing to push the girl and Unicorn back. They make a strategic retreat, but Kyoka's rage boils over. She wants revenge so badly that she nearly jeopardizes her team. Yuki, surprisingly, helps calm her down, focusing on getting their injured squad mates to safety. Back at the dorm, Kyoka reflects on her mistakes. She acknowledges that her anger almost cost her everything, and decides to prioritize her team's well-being. Yuki, on the other hand, gets rewarded in the weirdest way possible, by being stepped on. That's right, Kyoka stomps on him, and instead of being offended, he looks genuinely terrified by his own psyche. Later, as Yuki cooks dinner, he reveals that the girl's face reminded him of his sister. He's confused and torn, unable to understand how she could have survived, or why she would be allied with the Shuki. Kyoka dismisses the idea, saying it's impossible for a human to turn into a Shuki. Still, Yuki can't shake the feeling that there's more to this mystery. Meanwhile, the mysterious girl, revealed to be Aoba Wakura, returns to her base. She's convinced Yuki is her long-lost brother, but is puzzled by his Shuki-like appearance. She finds their reunion amusing, despite the chaos it caused. As if things couldn't get worse for Yuki, he accidentally walks in on Himari in the bath. Just as she's about to end his miserable existence, a new pair of characters appear through a gateway. These newcomers, Izumo and Isuma, are from the 6th squad and are very interested in Yuki. Lucky him, more people to complicate his already chaotic life. Everyone gathers to meet Isumo, who thinks Kyoka is a boss for having a servant that brews killer coffee. Meanwhile, the Supreme Commander has dropped a bombshell about a new nasty humanoid Shuki wreaking havoc. Isumo's here to talk about a big change. The Demon Defense Force squadrons will start working together. About time, considering they've been running around like headless chickens. Azuma, the resident pain in the neck, decides it's the perfect time to mock Himari for fainting like a scared kitten in their last battle. She calls her a disgrace to their family, and outright tells her to quit her dreams. Smooth. But let's not miss Azuma's moment of wisdom as she admits that the humanoid Shuki is no joke. Even Kyoka agrees. With her endless patience and genius ideas, suggests an inter-squad exhibition match to settle this nonsense. Kyoka insists on single combat, and Isumo gives her blessing. When preparations are underway, Himari approaches Kyoka and asks for help. Kyoka warns her it won't be easy, but Himari, determined to prove she's not a complete failure, is all in. She then turns to her unfortunate servant, Yuki, who's basically roped into this madness for the sole purpose of her victory. After cooking a meal for the girls, he's praised by Himari, who calls him a great servant. poor guy just wonders how his life went so sideways. Himari reveals her trump card. Her real ability isn't just turning body parts into weapons. No, it's called learning. By using her phone like some sort of trading card game, she can copy other people's powers. Yuki, while impressed, can't help but notice how absurd this all sounds. Himari proudly selects Kyoka's ability, but she barely knows how it works. She assumes it'll just mean doing extra chores like cleaning and laundry. Sure, because using superpowers should definitely feel like being in a maid cafe. As they train, Shuki attacks, and Himari makes Yuki transform. He's not as strong as usual, but ridiculously fast, which is new. In his altered state, Yuki punches the Shuki like a caffeinated boxer, while Himari gleefully watches, thinking he might actually help her beat her sister. She is, of course, blissfully unaware that Yuki might break his spine doing her dirty work. Himari explains that her learning ability isn't perfect. It's got compatibility issues. Some abilities degrade to ridiculous levels. For example, using someone's growing power only makes her nose grow an inch. Yuki rolls his eyes as Himari shrugs off the side effects of Kyoka's ability. She's too busy trying to prove herself to care. A flashback reveals that Himari grew up in a high-achieving family where she was the black sheep, constantly failing and embarrassing herself. Now she's determined to show them all she's not useless. Yuki grudgingly agrees to help, even though she treats him like dirt. She tells him her sister's power, Golden Hour, lets her control time, including rewinding and freezing it. Yuki quickly realizes they're doomed, but Himari insists they can win by exploiting the power drain that comes with using Golden Hour. Yuki helps Himari develop a finishing move by channeling all his energy into his legs. Predictably, his legs get huge, and he zooms around like Sonic on steroids. However, his first attempt at a finishing move flops, and he's left with noodle arms. Himari keeps pushing him to perfect the technique. She's not winning any awards for kindness, but at least she gives him a head pat. Kyoka drops in on their next training session and is impressed by their progress. She reminds Himari to properly use her servant, Yuki, and make her proud. Himari, suddenly inspired, grabs Yuki's chain and orders him to focus his strength on his legs. Yuki obeys, unleashing a devastating attack that obliterates a Shuki. Himari is thrilled, and Yuki wonders how he's become so tragically effective. On the day of the exhibition match, everyone gathers. Azuma is ready to crush her sister, but Himari is determined to prove her wrong. Gina, a fangirl referee, sets up a barrier that heals injuries, letting them go all out. Himari squares off against Azuma with Yuki in tow. The match starts, and Yuki uses his lightning-fast attack to leave Azuma gasping for air. Azuma rewinds time to reset the fight, but it's clear she's tiring out. She smugly believes her time manipulation has gotten stronger, but Himari did one more powerful move. Yuki and Himari execute their polished finishing technique, combining blistering speed and raw force to knock Azuma down. Azuma tries to recover, but it's clear she's outmatched. Himari's victory is sealed, leaving everyone, including Yuki, stunned. While Himari basks in her success, Yuki silently prays for a life that doesn't involve being a human punching bag. Himari doesn't let her sister Azuma breathe for even a second. She has Yuki launching attacks faster than a hyperactive squirrel on espresso. Azuma, panicking, uses her flashy Golden Hour ability to rewind time by 5 seconds. She freezes time again, hoping to catch them. But surprise! Yuki and Himari have already switched tactics like sneaky little foxes. Azuma looks like she's just realized her strategy was as useful as a chocolate teapot. Himari smirks, feeling proud they made Azuma waste her ability. She tells Yuki to stick to their genius plan, and the crowd is eating it up. Yuki moves so fast it's like he's trying out for a superhero movie. Himari's plan is simple: confuse Azuma by running circles around her like a dog chasing its tail. Yuki feels Himari's desperation to win. He's sweating bullets but keeps speeding up because his master commands it. Their plan? Attack or dodge the moment she starts posing. Himari figures they just need to make her waste her powers, and victory is theirs. But Azuma isn't some clueless cow. She sees through Himari's plan and pulls out her trump card, Prime Time. This freezes time for 10 seconds and traps Himari and Yuki like flies in amber. Himari misjudges the range, so she's stuck with no escape. Azuma uses this chance to fire bullets at her sister. When time resumes, Himari is down, shocking the spectators who thought she was winning. Azuma explains her primetime ability with the sass of a peacock on a runway. It's Golden Hour, but doubled in duration. The catch? It takes longer to activate. Azuma figured Himari was learning her old tricks, so she upgraded to this devastating move. The crowd is stunned. Himari can't believe her sister hid this skill. Azuma gloats, claiming she's a genius who only gets better with time, like fine wine. Himari's downfall is complete. or so Azuma thinks. The crowd starts cheering Himari on. Nei is worried, but Shushu has faith the fight isn't over. Azuma, in full smug mode, rubs salt into Himari's wounds. She mocks her sister's inability to meet expectations. Himari, battered and doubting herself, starts wondering if all her effort is useless. But Yuki, the little weasel, snaps her out of it. He points out Azuma's face. She's running on fumes. Yuki, despite looking like a wilted plant himself, refuses to let Himari quit. Himari's confidence returns, and she promises to punish her cheeky servant after they win. With renewed determination, Himari fights back. Azuma tries to mess with her again, but Himari brushes it off, claiming that fighting to the bitter end isn't shameful. Azuma, desperate to crush her sister's spirit, realizes her plan to train Himari later might not work out. Himari and Yuki launch a surprise move. Yuki emits a blinding light, tricking Azuma into rewinding time by 5 seconds. But when time resets, she finds herself aiming at plain old Yuki. Confused, she fires wildly, only to take damage herself. Turns out Himari had used the distraction to land a decisive blow. Azuma collapses and everyone is speechless. Himari strikes a victory pose like the over-the-top drama queen she is. She's declared the winner, and the crowd erupts in celebration. Kyoka explains Himari's strategy, praising her for using Yuki's transformation smoke as cover. Just as everyone's cheering, they notice Yuki isn't looking too good. Kyoka reassures them that the injuries sustained in the barrier will heal completely. Sure enough, Yuki bounces back like a cockroach after a hurricane. Himari gloats about her victory and teases Yuki, who just woke up and is already regretting his life choices. Azuma regains consciousness and reflects on her sister's growth. She remembers how Himari used to overwork herself to meet impossible standards. Azuma admits Himari has grown stronger and promises to treat her better. She asks Himari to come back home, but Himari declines, claiming the 7th Squadron is where she belongs. Azuma, crushed, accepts defeat. After the battle, Himari rewards Yuki with not 1 but 2 kisses. Yuki, still looking like he's been run over by a truck, doesn't know how to feel about this. Himari clarifies that the kisses are just the price of using her powers, which shocks Shushu, who was clearly rooting for a more romantic explanation. Meanwhile, Azuma apologizes to her team for losing and leaves the next match to Sahara, who's the picture of calm confidence. Himari and Yuki share a moment, with Himari acknowledging his hard work. They smile, knowing they pulled off a nearly impossible victory. Outside, uninvited guests are lurking. The next fight is about to begin, but the drama is far from over. Shushu, eager to prove herself, goes to fetch Himari and Yuki. Himari, still riding the high of victory, teases Yuki again. Whatever comes next, this duo is ready to face it together. Well, as long as Yuki doesn't pass out again. The story barrels forward into round 2, where Shushu faces Sahara. Both fighters claim to specialize in hand-to-hand combat, but let's be honest, Shushu's the kind of over-enthusiastic bull in a china shop, and Sahara is the underdog golden retriever trying her hardest. Shushu, desperate to get Yuki's attention after flunking Azuma's test and being relegated to a glorified cheerleader, has her eyes set on victory. Meanwhile, Sahara vows to make her friends proud, because who doesn't love a good wholesome promise before some chaos? The two decide to throw hands the old-fashioned way before resorting to their special abilities. Shushu grows into a giant, while Sahara activates her Mad Sheep ability, which boosts her strength depending on the time she sets. The shorter the duration, the crazier the power. After dodging Shushu's attack, Sahara lands a slap across her massive face and declares that paper beats rock, leaving Shushu looking like a confused cow. Sahara uses her quick attacks to whittle down Shushu, pointing out that being a massive target is not the smartest strategy. But Shushu, in her infinite goat-level wisdom, decides to double down, getting even bigger. She literally body slams Sahara like a wrestler on steroids, thinking she's won. Everyone starts celebrating prematurely because, apparently, this is the anime world where common sense takes a holiday. But Sahara, unconscious, yet terrifying, activates her hidden ability, which lets her go berserk like an out-of-control zombie sheep. She smashes Shushu into the ground with the kind of power that says, "I'm not done yet!" Shushu, of course, eats dirt. Sahara is declared the winner, and Shushu is left to cry over her ruined dignity. Shushu tries to slink away, but her drama doesn't go unnoticed. Yuki, ever the oblivious dorm caretaker, offers her a drink to cheer her up. She walks away, swearing she won't confess her feelings until she wins his admiration, which, judging by her track record, might take a while. Meanwhile, Nei senses trouble brewing, and things quickly escalate when a mysterious woman appears. The woman delivers some cryptic threats before summoning a horde of Shuki, those demonic punching bags from earlier. Just as everyone starts panicking, another mysterious figure, Ryan, makes an entrance. smashing through barriers like a wrecking ball. Kyoko wastes no time rallying her troops, proving why she's in charge, and orders everyone to get ready for battle. Shushu, who seems to have recovered from her earlier embarrassment, charges back into the fight, this time alongside Sahara. The two form an unlikely duo, with Shushu's brute force and Sahara's strategy. But Ryan, targeting none of them, decides to aim for Himari, deeming her annoying enough to deserve a near-death experience. Alma swoops in to save her sister, only to realize Ryan is a much bigger threat than anyone anticipated. The sisters signal each other and come up with a plan. Meanwhile, Yuki, Himari, and Kyoka team up, with Himari requesting a rather awkward mount-up scenario that leaves Yuki both confused and transformed into his most powerful form yet. Powered by two masters, Yuki lets loose a blast so strong it leaves everyone in awe. The swarm of Shuki is decimated, and the team regains some confidence. Kyoka reassures Himari that her sister will be fine with Alma on the battlefield. Elsewhere, Alma is struggling against Ryan's overwhelming power. He literally tears her arm off, thinking he's won, but Alma rewinds time by 5 seconds, proving she's not one to be underestimated. Though battered, she continues fighting, ready for her next move. Just as Ryan prepares a devastating attack, Isumo arrives in dramatic fashion, neutralizing an entire army of Shuki single-handedly. Isumo, cool as ever, challenges Ryan directly, leaving the rest of the team in awe. The chaos was off the charts. Shuki were everywhere like ants on sugar, and the battle was getting crazier by the second. Kyoko, the iron-willed commander, showed why she was boss. She barked orders like a seasoned drill sergeant, while Shushu and Sahara played their part, swatting down Shuki like they were annoying flies. Meanwhile, Isumo, our cool-as-ice wildcard, watched silently, ready to throw hands if necessary. On the other side, Ryan strutted around like he owned the place. He was clearly aiming for commanders, disappointed that only 2 had dared to face him. He boasted about how he'd end the fight in a blink and launched a lightning attack that tore through the battlefield. But guess what? His big bad attack barely phased anyone important. Ryan lost his smug grin and got serious. He powered up dramatically, probably thinking he was the final boss, and unleashed a massive attack. Everyone thought Isumo was toast, but Kyoko knew better. Isumo pulled a Houdini, using her portals to dodge and counterattack. She landed a hit that sent Ryan tumbling through the air like a deflated balloon. The cherry on top, she teleported him into oblivion. Ryan, self-proclaimed invincible warrior, was now a lost and confused cow floating through space. After the dust settled, the commanders regrouped, basking in their victory. Kyoko, of course, was all about declaring her ultimate goal of becoming supreme commander. Yuki, our protagonist, stood there like a deer in headlights, realizing he couldn't just be a fanboy anymore. He had to step up if he wanted to be a hero. Isumo, ever the charming bully, called him a little servant, while Jenna suddenly decided Yuki was some kind of prodigy and became his #1 fangirl. Talk about going from 0 to hero in record time. Meanwhile, Himari had a heartfelt moment with her sister Alma, who saved her during the battle. Alma, being her usual stone-faced self, acted like she only helped to avoid disgracing the family name. Classic sibling denial. But when Alma offered to train her, Himari stood her ground, declaring her squadron as her true home. Their rivalry was still alive and kicking, but at least they weren't at each other's throats. Yuki, the ever-diligent caretaker, decided to help out with chores. Cleaning was his jam, but the dorms were already spotless. This goat-brained hero got excited over a single stain like it was a treasure map, analyzing it like a scientist. His laundry game wasn't much better. He had to hype himself up just to fold clothes. During his errands, he stumbled into Alma's room, which was basically a shrine to Himari. The guy noped out of there faster than a cat near water. Sahara, on the other hand, was busy napping but apologized in her usual weird way when Yuki found her. Back in the gym, Alma was pumping iron like a machine, proving she was still leagues ahead of Himari. Sahara, playing the wise mentor, explained how people's abilities reflected their desires. Apparently, Himari's power to mimic others came from wanting to learn from Alma, and Isumo's portal mastery stemmed from wanting more time with her sister. Himari decided to patch things up with Alma, who, despite her tough exterior, seemed to appreciate the effort. While all this was happening, Kyoko planned the next move. She suspected the humanoid enemies were regrouping, especially since one of them, Ryan, had somehow survived Isumo's portal shenanigans. Turns out, he was saved by his ally, Shikoku, just before becoming space dust. Shikoku, a strategist who viewed humans like an amusing science experiment, recapped their losses and planned to wait until all 8 humanoids were united before striking again. Ryan, being the stubborn goat he was, still thought they could win, but Shikoku and another humanoid named Ju shut him down. Back at the dorms, Kyoko and Isumo wrapped up their meeting, but Isumo dropped a bombshell. She wanted Yuki, the little servant, to join her team. Why? Who knows? But Kyoko's face said it all. Pure shock. Maybe Isumo saw something in Yuki that the rest of us missed, or maybe she just wanted a free errand boy. Either way, Yuki's life was about to get even more chaotic. Kyoko stands there, stunned. Izumo, the audacity queen, wants Yuki. Why? Because her personal life is duller than a brick in a museum, and she thinks a pet, Yuki, of all people, will help her unwind after a hard day. Kyoko, understandably horrified, is not about to hand Yuki over, even when Isumo dangles the Supreme Commander endorsement like a shiny carrot. Isumo, not one to take no lightly, asks if she can at least date Yuki in her free time. Kyoko rolls her eyes but reluctantly tells Yuki about it later.